I saw them before he ever confessed. It was a Tuesday. I had finished work early and decided to walk home. The air smelled like wet leaves, and the clouds were thick, holding back more rain. I passed the cafe we used to visit together, the one with the green chairs and too loud music. I glanced through the window, expecting nothing, but then I froze. There he was, Daniel, sitting by the window. Across from him was a woman with long dark hair. I could not see her face clearly, but I could see their hands. His hand rested lightly on hers, and they were laughing. It was the kind of laugh you do not fake. His smile was soft, the one he used to give me. I stood there for only a few seconds, but it felt like hours. My heart sank without a sound. I stepped away before they could see me. I kept walking. I did not stop until I reached my apartment door. That evening, Daniel came home at the usual time. He greeted me with a kiss on the cheek. I watched him walk into the kitchen and pour himself a drink. He talked about traffic and how he had been at the gym. I nodded and smiled like nothing had changed. But inside, something had broken. I met Daniel almost 2 years ago. It was raining that day, too. I was working at a small bookstore when he walked in looking lost and charming. He needed a birthday gift for his sister. We spoke about books and somehow ended up talking about travel and music. He bought a novel I recommended and, before leaving, gave me his number. "In case I need more book advice," he said with a grin. We started texting. A few days later, we had coffee. It was light, simple, and easy. He made me laugh, and I liked the way he listened. He had come out of a long relationship and said he was not sure he was ready for anything serious. I respected that. I had been single for over a year after a quiet breakup that left no scars, but plenty of silence. Daniel and I took our time. One date turned into 2, then 5, then weekends together. He cooked better than I did and always made breakfast on Sundays. He liked to read next to me in bed. He asked about my childhood, my favorite memories, my dreams. I shared everything. After 6 months, we moved in together. My apartment was small but full of light. Daniel brought his books, guitar, and favorite coffee mugs. I cleared half the closet and made space in the kitchen. We decorated the space with framed prints and indoor plants. It felt like a home. Not mine, not his, but ours. For a while, everything felt right. He was affectionate, generous, and present. He supported me when I lost my job at the bookstore. He helped me prepare for interviews, and we celebrated with takeout when I got a new one. He remembered little things, my favorite tea, the way I hated loud alarms, the story that always made me cry. But slowly, things began to change. He started spending more time on his phone. He would laugh at something and then put the phone down quickly when I entered the room. I asked once who he was talking to. "Just Mark," he said, naming a coworker I had never met. Another time, he said he had to work late, but when I called his office, they said he had left hours earlier. When I asked him about it, he smiled and said he had gone for a walk to clear his head. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to trust the man I had shared my life with. So I convinced myself that I was being paranoid, that maybe I was scared because things were going too well, that I needed to relax and not ruin what we had. Then came the night I found the message. It was late. Daniel had fallen asleep on the couch with his phone still in his hand. I reached over to put it on the table, but the screen lit up. It was a message from someone saved as M. It read, "Still thinking about last night." Just before we continue, I would love if you could subscribe. It helps me share more stories like this. My chest tightened. My fingers trembled. I opened the message thread. There were more messages, some short, some long. I saw words like miss, secret, and shouldn't. I stopped reading. I placed the phone down and walked into the bedroom. I sat on the edge of the bed, breathing slowly. He had told me he loved me. He had held my hand and said, "You're the best thing that's happened to me." But those words now felt distant, like someone else had said them to someone else. The next morning, I did not say anything. I watched him move around the kitchen, make coffee, kiss my forehead. I studied him like a stranger. I wondered how long he had been slipping away from me. I needed answers. That is when I saw them in the cafe. Seeing them together made everything clear. That night, I asked him directly, "Who is M?" He looked up from his laptop, confused at first, then cautious. "What?" "Your messages. I saw them. Who is she?" He sighed and rubbed his face. "It's complicated." "I think it's simple," I said. "You lied. You cheated. She's someone I used to know," he said. "We met again by chance. We talked. I didn't mean for it to happen." "You held her hand in public," I said. "That's not by accident." He looked away. "It didn't mean anything." "But I do," I said. "Or at least I used to." He stood silently. I could see he was trying to think of what to say, but there was nothing left to fix. I did not cry that night. I packed a small bag. I took some clothes, a book, my keys, and my phone. I left without shouting, without slamming doors. I stayed with my friend Sarah that week. I told her everything. She held my hand while I cried. She made tea and let me sleep in her bed while she took the couch. Every morning I woke up wishing it was all a bad dream. But it was real. Daniel messaged me every day. He said he missed me. He said it was a mistake. He said he was confused and that it had meant nothing. But betrayal is not about what it meant to him. It is about what it did to me. After a few days, I went back to the apartment to pick up the rest of my things. He was not home. I packed slowly. I looked around at everything we had chosen together. I took my half of the plants, the mugs I bought, and the small picture of us smiling on the train to the mountains. Before I left, I wrote a note. "I loved you. I still might. But I love myself more, and I will not stay where I am not safe." Then I locked the door behind me. After I moved out, the silence felt heavier than the heartbreak. I thought I would miss him more loudly, but instead, it was a quiet ache. like something that had gone numb from being held too tightly for too long. I stayed on Sarah's couch for 3 weeks. She never asked when I planned to leave. She made space for my things and made me laugh when I needed it most. Some nights I could not sleep. I would lie awake, thinking about the little moments. Sunday pancakes, soft kisses before work, shared glances across the dinner table. I replayed the good memories, not because I wanted him back, but because I needed to understand how something that felt so real could have ended like this. Daniel kept texting. At first it was every day. I miss you. Please talk to me. You don't understand what she meant to me. It's over. I never replied. Then he sent a long message saying he had ended it with Marissa. He said he realized too late that what we had was real and that he had been a coward. I read the message 3 times. My heart reacted, but my head stayed still. It was too late. I started looking for a new place. I could not stay on Sarah's couch forever. I found a small 1-bedroom apartment near the bookstore where I now worked. The rent was tight, but it was mine. The first time I unlocked the door and stepped in, I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I had not done something for myself in a long time. That apartment became my space to heal. I bought secondhand furniture and put up my favorite photos. I lit candles and played soft music in the evenings. I cooked simple meals and sat by the window, watching the city move. I started journaling again. Every night, I wrote one true thing I felt: angry, tired, lonely, proud. I let those words carry the weight I could not always express out loud. A few weeks after moving in, I ran into Daniel on the street. He looked thinner, tired. He was alone. "Elisa," he said, stopping a few feet away from me. "You look... well." I nodded. "I am okay. Can we talk? Please?" I thought for a second, then said, 5 minutes. We sat on a bench nearby. The air between us was strange, familiar but uncomfortable. "I've been a mess," he said. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." "You did," I said. He looked at me, surprised by how calm I was. "I thought about us every day," he continued. "I kept trying to understand why I did what I did." "Because you could," I said softly. "Because you didn't think I would leave." He swallowed hard. "You're right." We sat in silence for a moment. "I didn't come to beg," he said. "I came to say I'm sorry, and to tell you that I'm trying to be better." I stood up. "I hope you do become better, but not for me." He nodded, eyes lowered. "I know." I walked away. That was the last time I saw him. Months passed. I focused on work. I became closer to a few colleagues, especially one named Julia. She was older, wise, and had been through a similar experience years ago. We shared lunch breaks and stories. She never offered advice unless I asked for it. "You will feel like yourself again," she once told me. "Not the same self. A new one. Stronger." And she was right. I began exploring more. I visited museums and galleries on weekends. I took long walks without a destination. I went to the movies alone. I read more novels, especially ones about women finding their voices again. One day, I even signed up for a drawing class. At first, I felt like a fraud. My lines were shaky, my sketches awkward. But I loved it. The focus, the quiet, the way the pencil moved across the paper, it calmed me. It reminded me that I could still create something out of nothing. One evening, while packing up after class, I started talking to another student named Layla. She was kind and open. We grabbed coffee after the next class, then dinner the next week. It felt good to connect without pressure, to laugh without fear. She was newly single too. We talked about heartbreak like two people who had walked through the same storm but taken different paths. "I stayed too long," she said once. "I kept thinking I could fix it." "I left too late," I said. "Even when I saw the signs, I stayed." "But we're here now," she smiled. "And we're not broken." That night, I went home and stood in front of the mirror. I looked at my reflection for a long time. Not to check my makeup or fix my hair, but to really see myself. I was still healing, but I was also rebuilding. One morning, I woke up to a message from an unknown number. It was Daniel. "I saw one of your drawings online. It was beautiful." I had posted a few pieces on a shared community page. I had not expected anyone from my past to see them. I stared at the message. Then I deleted it. I did not need his approval. I did not need his presence. I had enough of my own now. I joined a local art group. We met twice a month to share work and give feedback. It felt like home. I started writing poems again, short, messy, honest ones. I printed one and framed it. I hung it by my door. It read, "She broke, but not forever. She bent, but never disappeared. She rose quietly, and that was enough." I did not know I was healing until I stopped checking my phone for his name. It happened slowly, not with a dramatic moment, but with a quiet morning. I woke up late, made tea, and sat near the window with a book. The city moved outside, cars passing, people walking, but inside me, everything was calm. Not empty, just quiet. I had not thought about Daniel for several days. When I did, it felt like remembering a movie I had once watched and forgotten. The anger was gone. The pain had softened. He was no longer the center of my thoughts. That was when I knew something had changed. I was not surviving anymore. I was beginning to live again. Layla and I took a trip to a small town by the sea. She had suggested it weeks ago, but I had not felt ready until now. We booked a weekend in a guest house that smelled like salt and lemons. The air was crisp and the sky was wide. We walked along the beach with our shoes in our hands and ate fish from paper plates. We talked about our pasts, but we also laughed about silly things and made plans for the future. One evening, we sat on the sand, watching the sun set into the ocean. "I feel different," I said. "Like something inside me has shifted." Layla looked at me and smiled. "You look free." That word stayed with me. Free. For so long I had felt stuck in confusion, in heartbreak, in trying to make sense of what Daniel had done. But now I was beginning to understand that freedom was not about forgetting. It was about no longer letting someone else control your peace. When I returned home, I decided to apply for something I had wanted for a long time. A beginner drawing class at a local art school was looking for an instructor. I hesitated before sending my application. What if I was not good enough? What if they chose someone else? But I reminded myself I had already lost something once and survived. Trying again was not weakness. It was strength. 2 weeks later, they called and offered me the position. I thanked them, hung up, and cried quietly in my kitchen. Not because I was sad, but because I had found a new beginning. The first class was small, 6 students. They were shy at first. Most of them said they had not drawn since school. Some of them were there to escape busy lives. Others were recovering from their own heartbreaks. I told them, art is not about getting everything right. It's about feeling something and putting it down on paper. Each week, we drew objects, hands, faces. I watched their lines grow steadier. I watched their confidence return. And in teaching them, I found my own confidence again. One evening, after class, a student named Anna stayed behind. She showed me a drawing of 2 people standing apart. Their arms reached out, but their hands did not touch. "It's based on someone I loved," she said. "It's honest," I replied. She looked at me. "Does the pain ever stop?" "No," I said, "but you learn to carry it without it breaking you." Life became full in small, quiet ways. I walked to the market on Saturdays, cooked simple meals, and filled my apartment with drawings and flowers. I met Layla for coffee and shared updates on her job and mine. I wrote short poems and pinned them to my wall. They were not for anyone else. They were for me. Then, one winter morning, I found a letter in my mailbox. Not a message on my phone. A real letter, handwritten in an envelope with no return address. The handwriting stopped me. It was Daniel's. I held it for a long moment before opening it. "Elisa, I do not expect you to write back. I just wanted to say what I could not say before. You gave me your heart, and I let it break in my hands. I blamed confusion, timing, my past. But the truth is, I was weak. I chose comfort over courage. I chose what was easy instead of what was right. You deserved someone who could stand beside you with his whole heart. I wasn't that man. I hope someday I can be better. But you were never the problem. I was. I hope you're drawing. I hope you're laughing. I hope someone sees your light and never looks away. I'm sorry. Daniel." I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. I felt no need to reply, not because I was angry, but because I had already said goodbye a long time ago. That letter was not my ending. It was his. A month later, one of my pieces was chosen for a small local art exhibit. It was a pencil sketch of a woman walking away down a narrow path. Her back was to the viewer, and light stretched ahead of her. I called it the way forward. At the exhibit, people stopped to look. One woman stood beside me and said, "This drawing feels like something I've been through." I smiled. "Then maybe it's for you." I left the event early and walked home in the cold air. I wrapped my scarf tighter and let the quiet fill me. I no longer needed noise to feel alive. I no longer needed someone else to tell me I was enough. This was my story now, not the betrayal, not the heartbreak, but the rising, the returning, the rebuilding. I taught my last winter class with joy in my heart. The students clapped at the end. Anna gave me a small drawing as a gift. It was of a woman standing alone, her hand resting on her chest. "You helped me heal," she said. "No," I replied. "You helped yourself. I was just here." Later that night, I looked around my apartment. It was warm. It smelled like tea and candle wax. My drawings were pinned to the walls. My journal was open on the desk. I added one last line before bed. I am no longer waiting to be loved. I am choosing to be whole. When people ask me now about Daniel, I say he was a lesson, not a mistake. I do not hate him. I hope he finds peace, but I will never go back. When they ask me about love, I say this: real love does not hide. It does not come with excuses or half-truths. It does not ask you to shrink. It holds your hand with both of its own and says, "You matter. You are enough." And if you do not hear those words, you walk away, because your heart is a home, not a hotel, and mine is full again, not because of someone else, but because I came back to myself.